Hello everyone, this is Shaden on behalf of the CU Committee on Technical Processing. I welcome everyone to join the webinar on subject cataloging using LCSH, Myths and Truths, Hiding Control on OCLC Connexion client. Will be presented by Mr. Hideyuki Morimoto. This session will be recorded. Before we start, I would like to go over some housekeeping. First thing is that I expect everyone did your homework with the handouts I sent you before the session, so you should be able to access the chat room. If you have a question during the session, please send the question to the room instead of moderator, so everybody can read it. And I will try to remember to save the chat record. And the chat box should be tagged with the room at the bottom of the live panel on your session screen, so everybody should be able to see it. And I regret to say that we may not be able to provide any troubleshooting. I hope you have a copy of most common issue I sent to you to help you if you have a problem. For better internet connection and audio quality, it is recommended to close other programs that run on your computer. And also, please be patient with the presenter if there is audio delay. Thank you. And the last but not the least, if you want CU to host more webinars, please fill out the follow-up survey, which I will send you after session. We need your input to make a case with the CU Executive Board. And now, with great pleasure and honor, I would like to introduce our presenter, Mr. Hideyuki Morimoto. Mr. Morimoto is Japanese cataloger and CJK NACO coordinator at Columbia University. He is also a senior consultant. He is very knowledgeable, sharp, and very humble. He is very active in CJK cataloging field, served and chaired many committees and task force in CU and ALA. He currently very busy preparing for CU one-day workshop on RDA and the CJK materials as one of the trainers. The workshop will be held in Toronto on March 13. Now let's welcome Mr. Morimoto.
Thank you very much for your introduction. The first thing is that, as Shiden already mentioned, due to technical difficulties, there will likely be time lag between audio and visual data transmission. While on my end, verbal explanation will correspond to a relevant presentation screen, on participants' PCs, a presentation screen may advance to the next, while verbal explanation is still about the previous screen, or vice versa. Because of such asynchronous data transmission, for clarity, I will announce a slide number each time I advance to the next on my end. Except for the very first opening slide, each slide carries slide number in the lower right-hand corner, like this one. Right. I have been performing subject cataloging using LCSH and OCLC Connexion client. I have also reviewed LCSH assignment in bibliographic records prepared by other catalogers for Chinese, Korean, and Tibetan language resources. Through that experience, I have noted misuse of the control heading functionality beyond what is meant to serve by various cataloging staff members at various libraries. When I point out the illegitimacy of controlled subject entries in WorldCat bibliographic records deviating from provisions in SHM instruction sheets and or LCSH records, some catalogers have protestingly exclaimed to me, "But Connexion client controlled this subject entry. You see the entry is fully underscored in the records." Then I respond, "Certainly I see the underscore. However, OCLC admonishes us, the control heading window does not validate the structure of headings." Slide 3. This webinar is an introductory session and has a modest scope. We will discuss pitfalls of subject entries control functionality inside Connexion client. We will see that some subject entries that control are actually not legitimate. Some legitimate subject entries do not control in Connexion client. A brief notational remark is provided here. On the following slides, an asterisk in front of subject entries denotes illegitimacy. An underscore in indicator positions denotes a blank space. Slide 4. The following are outside the scope of this webinar. Controlled subject headings lists other than LCSH, such as ACSH, MESH, CS, AAT, and so on. Semantically inappropriate LCSH assignment to resources on different topics and or discussing topics on different levels of specificity. Slide 5. Connection browser if there are differences in headings control functionality from connection client. Slide 6. The headings control functionality inside connection client and subject entry legitimacy are two different matters. Headings control is a connection client functionality of linking headings in bibliographic records directly to matching Library of Congress authority records. It is not a validation mechanism of the headings structure. Syntactical, semantic, or pragmatic legitimacy of subject entries in turn are mostly governed by SHM provisions and sometimes derived from LCSHs themselves. In this webinar, we will focus on syntactic and pragmatic legitimacy of subject entries, and semantic legitimacy is outside the scope of this webinar. Slide 7. When we view these two different matters, controlling and legitimacy together, we see various situations which are enumerated here. Each situation will be briefly reviewed with an example. Skipping 8, going to slide 9. Situation A is where a subject entry is legitimate and where it also controls in connection clients. For instance, this subject entry, which is a combination of 150 Chinese language Suffolk X errors of usage and 185 Suffolk V dictionaries, and as such is a legitimate subject entry and also controls in connection client. Slide 10. Situation B is where a subject entry is legitimate but where it does not control in connection client. For instance, this subject entry, which is expansion of 151 Seoul, parenthesis Korea, through application of provisions at SHM H362 1 Bullet 1, formulate and assign the following types of phrase headings without submitting proposals to establish them in the subject authority file. Name of city, metropolitan area, geographic qualifier, and SHM H791A. Construct free-floating headings for names of metropolitan areas by inserting the phrase metropolitan area between an established city name and its geographic qualifier. As such, this is a legitimate subject entry, but it does not control in connection client. Slide 11. Situation C is where a subject entry is legitimate, but where it is automatically flipped to and controlled with a different entry in connection client. This situation frequently happened until May 2011, but it may no longer or only infrequently be happening since then. For instance, previously, through controlling 60010 V, G, automatically flipped to 63000 DG. This is no longer happening. Also previously, through controlling 60000 Murasaki Shikibu, Suffolk D, B, full stop 978 question mark, Suffolk T, Genji Monogatari, Suffolk N51, Suffolk P, Ukifune, automatically flipped to a form with the comma dropped between Suffolk N and Suffolk P. The comma is now retained even after being controlled. When a corresponding authority record is in error, however, it is carried over to affected controlled entries. Slide 12. Situation D is where a subject entry is illegitimate but where it controls in connection client. For instance, this subject entry is an illegitimate subject entry since Lotus Sutra is a sacred work under which, according to SHM H1188, subdivision Suffolk X criticism and interpretation is not used, but instead Suffolk X criticism, interpretation, etc. is. Yet, this subject entry with a sacred work illegitimately subdivided by suffix criticism and interpretation controls in connection client. We will examine many more examples of this situation D later in this webinar. Slide 13. Situation E is where a subject entry is illegitimate and where it does not control in connection client. For instance, this subject entry. This kingdom name is illegitimate as a subject entry as per LCCN this record number, which has under field 008, position 15, value B, not appropriate. Also, 667 note, subject usage, this heading is not valid for use as a subject. Works about this place are entered under Ryukyu Islands. This subject entry does not control in connection client. Slide 14. Situation F1 is where a subject entry is illegitimate and where, when controlled, it is automatically flipped and controlled in connection client. In situation F1, the resulting entry after automatic flipping is legitimate. For instance, the first subject entry is an illegitimate subject entry and is automatically flipped to and controlled as the second subject entry. With the women's university name, although having graduated no alumnus, by suffix X, alumni and alumni. As per LCCNSH 9900230 with 180 suffix X alumni and alumni, and 480 suffix X alumni, and SHMH 1151 geographically subdivided following the syntactic provision for New York at SHMH 990. The resulting entry after the automatic flipping is legitimate and controlled. Slide 15. Situation F2 is where a subject entry is illegitimate and where, when controlled, it is automatically flipped and controlled in connection client. In situation F2, the resulting entry after automatic flipping, although different, is still illegitimate. For instance, the first subject entry is an illegitimate subject entry due to subdivision suffix X biography, suffix X last years and death, cancelled under groups of literary authors. When controlled, it is automatically flipped to the second subject entry, which, although different, is still an illegitimate subject entry. As per LCCN SH 9900224, with a 180 suffix X, death and burial, which has a note, used as a topical subdivision under names of individual persons, and author's comma Japanese is not a name of individual person, for works on the person's death, funeral, or burial, including the person's last illness. It should instead read the third or the fourth subject entries. Slide 16. We will further examine various cases of situation D where a subject entry is illegitimate but where it controls in connection client. Such cases are often found in WorldCat CJK records. As I already mentioned earlier in this webinar, subcatalogers have protestingly exclaimed to me, "But connection client controls this subject entry. You see the entry is fully underscored in the record," to whom I respond, "Certainly I see the underscore. However, OCLC admonishes us that control headings window does not validate the structure of headings." Slide 17. Some frequently seen illegitimate subject entries that are controlled in connection client involve subdivisions of the X history. For instance, those three subject entries, all with suffix X history. Although these control in connection clients, they are illegitimate in light of SHMH 1647-9. Do not use history after the following free-floating subdivisions: annexation 2, anniversaries, etc., antiquities, kings and rulers, politics and government, social life and customs, and so on and so on. Therefore, they should instead read all without suffix X history in those three cases. Slide 18. In turn, in the case of controlled but illegitimate subject entry, the first subject entry, with subfield X, the subfield X history is missing, as per the provision at SHM H1075-1C. Chronological or period subdivisions are usually associated with a historical treatment of a topic and are established or used under topics after the subdivision history. Therefore, it should instead read 651-0 China subfield X commerce subfield X history inserted before subfield Y 21st century. Likewise, although controllable, the second subject entry is illegitimate since subfield X history is missing. LCCN SH 85018972 indeed shows heading calligraphy, Chinese, subfield X history, subfield Y 20th century. Therefore, it should instead read 650-0 calligraphy, Chinese, with subfield X history inserted, and then followed by subfield Y 20th century subfield X catalogs. Slide 19. Some other frequently seen illegitimate subject entries that are controlled in connection client involve subdivision subfield X criticism. For instance, these two subject entries. Although these control in connection clients, they are illegitimate in light of SHM H1647-1 paragraph 2 bullet 2 do not use history under literary music, film, television program, and video recording form headings. Instead use history and criticism. Therefore, they should instead read both of these with history and criticism as the last subdivision, rather than history alone. Slide 20. Likewise, although controllable, the first subject entry is illegitimate according to SHM H1155.6. Subdivision subfield X criticism interpretation may not be used under literary works entered under author, while subfield X criticism, textual may be when applicable. Therefore, it should instead read 60010 Wu, Cheng, and subfield D circa 1500 to circa 1582, full stop subfield T, COG, stopping there, dropping subfield X criticism and interpretation, or using criticism, textual instead of criticism and interpretation. Also, although controllable, the second subject entry is illegitimate as per LCCN SH 87002438, which has 150 motion pictures subfield X history, and under 450 motion pictures subfield X history and criticism. Therefore, it should instead read 650-0 motion pictures subfield Z Japan subfield X history, stopping there without and criticism. Slide 21. Some other frequently seen illegitimate subject entries that are controlled in connection client involve subdivision subfield X colonies. For instance, these two subject entries. Although these control in connection clients, they are illegitimate in light of SHM H1149.51 paragraph 2 do not use the subdivision colonies for works that discuss an individual colony. For such works, assign the name of the colony with an appropriate subdivision or the topical subject divided by the name of the colony. Also, H1149.53, headings of the type country colonies may be further subdivided by the topical and broad regional geographical subdivisions listed below, which are Africa, America, Asia, Oceania. Therefore, they should instead read 651-0 Hong Kong parenthesis China and 651-0 Macau parenthesis China space special administrative region. Slide 22. Some other frequently seen illegitimate subject entries that are controlled in connection clients relate to prohibitions documented in SHM. For instance, this subject entry. Although it controls in connection client, it is illegitimate in light of SHM H1330-1A. Name heading for the person. Assign the heading as established in AACR2 form in the name authority file. Do not subdivide the name by biography. Free-floating use of the subdivision biography after headings for individual literary authors was discontinued in 1998. The subdivision is established under Shakespeare, William, 1564 to 1616, and continues to be used under that heading as an exceptional practice. Therefore, it should instead read 60010 Lu, Shun, Safety 1881 to 1936, stopping there and dropping Safety V biography. Slide 23. Likewise, although controllable, this subject entry is illegitimate in light of SHMH 1929-3 paragraph 2. Do not use the subdivision philosophy and the names of individual philosophers. And the name authority record for this person carries the 5th 670, saying that this person was a philosopher and author. Therefore, it should instead read 600101, Fuji, Safuji 1619 to 1692, dropping Safed X philosophy directly followed by Safed D congresses. Slide 24. Likewise, although controllable, the first heading, the first subject entry is illegitimate in light of SHMH 1156 types of headings covered by the pattern sentence 3. This category does not include the general heading literature. Therefore, it should instead read 650-0 literature Safed X history and criticism, and or 650-0 Chinese literature Safed X appreciation. Likewise, although controllable, the second subject entry is illegitimate in light of SHMH 622B2. Do not assign chronological subdivisions where they have not been established or are not covered by free-floating provisions. Therefore, it should instead read 651-0 China Safed X social policy, stopping there without Safed Y 20th century, and or 651-0 China Safed X politics and government instead of social policy, then subdivided by Safed Y 20th century. Slide 25. Likewise, although controllable, the first subject entry is illegitimate in light of SHMH 1632. Use the free-floating subdivision gazetteers and the names of places for geographical dictionaries of these places. SHMH 1633. Assign the heading names, geographical to other types of works about place names, such as works that focus on the origin and meaning of geographical names, or a list of places not arranged in alphabetical order. Therefore, it should instead read 650-0 names, geographical Safuzi China, Safuzi Sini, parenthesis Qinghai stopping there without Safuzi gazetteers, and or 651 Safuzi 0 Sini, starting Sini, parenthesis Qinghai China, Safuzi gazetteers. Likewise, although controllable, the second subject entry is illegitimate in light of SHMH 2110-5 paragraph 3. For works on study and teaching about a place published in that place, omit the geographical subdivision under study and teaching. And paragraph 4. For works on study and teaching about a country for use in a locality of the same country, or for use in another country, subdivide study and teaching by the place in which the study and teaching is to be carried out. Therefore, it should instead read 651-0 China Safed X study and teaching, stopping there without Safed Z China. Slide 26. Likewise, although controllable, this subject entry is illegitimate in light of SHMH 1927-2 exception. Do not use periodicals as a further subdivision under the following form subdivisions. For example, guidebooks. Therefore, it should instead read 651 blank 0 Shanghai parenthesis China subfield V guidebooks, stopping there without subfield V periodicals. Slide 27. Some other frequently seen illegitimate subject entries that are controlled in connection clients relate to C from references or notes in LCSH. For instance, this subject entry, although it controls in connection client, it is illegitimate in light of SH 8504709 with 150 families with 450 families subfield X social conditions. Therefore, it should instead read 650 blank 0 families subfield Z Japan stopping there without subfield X social conditions. Slide 28. Likewise, although controllable, this subject entry is illegitimate in light of LCCN SH 9900568, which has 180 subfield X doctrines with a note, used as a topical subdivision under individual religions and Christian denominations, and Pure Land priests. It's neither religions nor Christian denominations. And 150 Pure Land Buddhism. Therefore, it should instead read 650 blank 0 Pure Land Buddhism rather than priests, subfield Z Japan subfield X doctrines, and or 650 Pure Land priests subfield Z Japan stopping there, dropping subfield X doctrines. Slide 29. Participants in this webinar may wish to do some exercises. There are 6 subject entries, A to F, below. As to each of these 6, participants are asked to determine 1. Whether or not each would control in connection client, and 2. Whether or not each is legitimate. If some webinar participants have ready access to connection client and or SHM, they may wish to consult the reference sources. Other webinar participants may wish to think about these without consulting the reference sources. Webinar participants have a total of 3 minutes to work at these exercises. And let me just point out about number E. You see subfield V biography and subfield X biography. This is intentional. I'm not saying this is correct, but this is intentionally done for the purpose of exercise. Again, you have a total of 3 minutes to work on this. Okay, it looks like 3 minutes passed. Some of you may still be working, but we just review this together. We just do this together. All right, slide 30. The first one, 651 blank 0, Changhua Xian, parenthesis Taiwan, suffix X music, suffix X history. This one controls in connection clients, but it is illegitimate in light of 180 suffix X music with a note used as a topical subdivision under ethnic groups for works about music of the group. And Changhua Xian, parenthesis Taiwan is not an ethnic group. And SHM H2075-2, for works that discuss the songs or music about a topic or entity, further subdivide songs and music by history and criticism. SHM H1647-1, paragraph 2, bullet 2, do not use history under literary music, film, television program, and video recording form headings. Instead use history and criticism. Therefore, it should instead read 651 blank 0, Changhua Xian, parenthesis Taiwan, suffix X, songs and music, suffix X, history and criticism, or 650 suffix blank 0, music, suffix Z, Taiwan, suffix Z, Changhua Xian, suffix X, history and criticism. Slide 31. 651 blank 0, Korea, suffix X, history, suffix Y, Mongolian invasions, 1231 to 1270, suffix X, aerial operations, suffix X, church history, suffix Y, 16th century, suffix X, criticism and interpretation, suffix V, controversial literature. With so many elements, it still controls in connection client, but it is illegitimate in light of SHM H1200 and LCCN SH 990050027, which has 180 suffix X church history, suffix Y 16th century, with a note used as a topical subdivision under names of countries, cities, etc. LCCN SH 9900556, with 180 suffix X criticism and interpretation, with a note used as a topical subdivision under names of the individual persons for works of critical analysis or interpretation of the person's artistic works or endeavors without biographical details. SHM H1472 and also LCCN SH 20020120037, which has 180 suffix X controversial literature, with a note used as a topical subdivision under names of individual religious and monastic orders, individual religions, individual Christian denominations, and uniform titles of sacred works for works about works that argue against or express opposition to those groups or works. Therefore, it should instead read 651 blank 0, Korea, suffix X, history, suffix Y, Mongolian invasions, 1231 to 1270, and depending on the discussion of their resource may be followed by suffix X aerial operations. This up to aerial operations, this is syntactically legitimate. Whether that is semantically legitimate or not, that is outside the scope of this webinar, and we don't have any particular resource that we are looking at. And or 651 blank 0, Korea, suffix X, church history, suffix Y, 16th century. Slide 32. The exercise was 650, suffix blank 0, folk drama, Common Chinese, suffix X, instruction and study, suffix Z, Taiwan, suffix Z, Ilanxian. It controls in connection client, but it is illegitimate in light of SHM H2110-8. The free-floating subdivision, instruction and study, is used instead of study and teaching in the field of music. And folk drama, Common Chinese is not a field of music. LCCN SH 9901446, which has 180 suffix X, instruction and study, with a note used as a topical subdivision under forms and types of musical compositions, individual musical instruments, and families of instruments. Therefore, it should instead read 650 blank 0, folk drama, Common Chinese, suffix X, study and teaching, suffix Z, Taiwan, suffix Z, Ilanxian. Slide 33. The exercise had 651 blank 0, Korea, parenthesis South, subfield X relations, subfield Z foreign countries. It is automatically flipped to 651 blank 0, Korea South, parenthesis South, subfield X relations, and automatically dropping subfield Z foreign countries. The subfield X relations may no longer be subdivided by subfield Z foreign countries. SHM H1996-1 is not yet updated in this regard, but please see the summary of decisions from the PSD editorial meeting of June the 9th, 2010, and LCCN SH 00007590 with the 180 subfield X relations, 480 subfield X relations, subfield Z foreign countries, subfield WNNE. Slide 34. The exercise was 650 blank 0 Shin Priest, subfield Z Japan, subfield V biography, subfield X biography, subfield X history and criticism. Although with subfield Z biography followed by subfield X biography, this string still controls in connection clients. But it is illegitimate in light of SHM H1100 for classes of persons. Therefore, it should instead read 650 blank 0 Shin Priest, subfield Z Japan, subfield V biography, or 650 blank 0 Shin Priest, subfield Z Japan, subfield X biography, subfield X history and criticism, although that one would not control as such, but it's certainly legitimate. Slide 35. The exercise was 650 blank 0 male domination, parenthesis social structure, subfield X feminist criticism, subfield Z Japan. It controls in connection clients, but it is illegitimate in light of LCCN SH 00005655, which has 180 subfield X feminist criticism with a note, used as a topical subdivision under uniform titles of sacred works. And male domination, parenthesis social structure is not a uniform title of sacred work. Therefore, it should instead read 650 blank 0 male domination, parenthesis social structure, or male domination social structure, subfield Z Japan, and 650 blank 0 feminist criticism, depending on the situation, depending on the coverage of the resource cataloged, followed by subfield Z Japan. Slides 36 to 38. For review of contents discussed in this webinar and for further study, participants in this webinar may wish to consult documents listed in this selected bibliography. Skipping to slide 39. Now slide 39. A question was received through a completed pre-session survey form. Please discuss form genre usage such as 655 blank 0 Chinese fiction. Should it be coded 655 blank 7 Chinese fiction full stop subfield 2 local? When I control the heading, it becomes 650 blank 0 Chinese fiction. The book is a Chinese novel, but not about Chinese fiction. Do we add genre form headings for literature materials? Slide 40. Again, controllability of subject entries in bibliographic records and connection client is not at all the same as legitimacy of subject entries. As to controllability, this question itself clearly describes the situation. 655 blank 7 fiction films full stop subfield 2 LCGFT is controllable. 655 blank 7 fiction without films full stop subfield 2 LCGFT is uncontrollable. 655 blank 7 fiction full stop subfield 2 local is uncontrollable. 655 blank 0 fiction is uncontrollable, and of course 650 blank 0 fiction is controllable. Again, these are the situations as to the controllability. But then, as to legitimacy, first of all, 655 blank 7 fiction, full stop subject to local, is governed by local policy at each cataloging agency. As long as this is allowed by one's local cataloging policy, this subject entry may be entered. Slide 41. Then comes the question of 655 blank 7 fiction, full stop subject to LCGFT. About that, please see frequently asked questions about the Library of Congress General Form Terms for Library and Archival Materials, LCGFT, last revised on June 6, 2011, especially numbers 17, 20, 35, and 39. Slide 42. Number 17 in that frequently asked questions document. Currently, terms for moving images, spoken word recorded sounds, legal materials, and cartographic materials are included in the general form term list. Number 20. One more project for literature is currently on PSD's timeline. Number 35. The Policy and Standards Division realizes that some libraries would like to use general form terms for disciplines in which LCGFT authority records have not yet been made, for instance, literature. The use of topical LCSH headings as general form terms is allowed for those disciplines depending on the meaning of the topical heading. LCSH headings tag 150 assigned to a 655 field in lieu of an authorized LCGFT term should be coded with second indicator 0, indicating that they are authorized by LCSH. If the scope note says that the heading is used for works of a given type, then it can be used in a 655 field. If the scope note says that a heading is used for works about or on a given topic, then it cannot be assigned to a 655 field. If there is no scope note, then the cataloger should use his or her best judgment. Number 39. There is currently no provision for the language of a work within LCGFT. The language is coded in various marked fields that contain descriptive information. The 008 bytes 35 to 37 and 041 fields, and the uniform title fields, for instance 130 to 40. ILSs can be programmed to search on these fields, usually as search limits, obviating the need for duplicative entry in the general form terms. Slide 43. Another question was received through a completed pre-session survey form. Demonstration of using important tools for assigning LCSHs. Slide 44. The LC-SAGO authority file and LC-NAGO authority file may be consulted through Connexion clients, through Classification Web, or at the LC authority site. SHM may be consulted through Cataloger's Desktop or in print. Free-floating subdivisions and alphabetical index may also be consulted through Cataloger's Desktop or in print. If the application sharing functionality of this Blackboard Collaborate 11 service is available without technical problem, a brief demonstration may be tried now. The topic of this U.S. military bases in Japan in general and relocation feasibility of the one in Futenma in particular is here used as an example. Again, we are not completely sure whether application sharing functions all right or not. Let us try. I'm now logging on to OCLC Connexion. Okay. I called up a blank work form. I get rid of this. Right. So first subject we would like to assign maybe U.S. military bases in Japan in general. All right, then Shift F2, SCIA SU, military bases, America. And with Japan, Southeast Japan is already combined here. So we can use this one. Of course, it controls. And that's, this takes care of the first part, military bases in Japan in general. So another part is relocation feasibility of one in Futenma in particular. Right. So again, Shift F2. This time, we would like to see the name heading for the U.S. military base, the particular U.S. military base in Futenma. So Shift F2 again. So this is this time name authority record, so NW colon United States. Since we are not sure about the spelling whether M or N, so we mask that part. Futenma. Right. So 670 says danger posed by Futenma Air Operation, Marine Corps Air Station Futenma www site, Marine Corps Air Station Futenma, and so on. And so this is the one we assume that we have to use. So the heading is Marine Corps Air Station Futenma, parenthesis Japan. Then relocation feasibility part is still left, so we check whether relocation can be appended to this heading or not. So yeah, subdivision, so SB first colon and then relocation. Relocation is under 180, all right, but this has a note. Use a topical subdivision under occupational groups and types of employees and ethnic groups. And the name of the U.S. military base, particular one in Futenma, is none of these. It's not an occupational group, it's not a type of employees, or it's not an ethnic group. So Suffix X relocation cannot be appended to the name of the particular U.S. military base in Futenma. So we have to we have to leave this without any subdivision, so we just control this, and of course it has control. But we are still left with the relocation feasibility part. So we now know that this particular one is the air station rather than military base in general. So we search for air bases, American air bases. Okay, this is geographically subdividable, I here, and so we use this with Suffix Z Japan. And let's try location. Relocation, we knew that this relocation question, we already looked at that. So let's look at location rather than relocation. One way is to do SCIA's LSB colon location, of course. And we can take a look at that. That's one way. But in order to show you another way, I would, if we can do, we can go to a browser. I would like to show you the way through the Categorizing desktop. So I now see on my screen Categorizing desktop called up. There are various ways, but one quick way that I frequently use is through using this index, free floating subdivisions index. And then, so I just checkmarked that alone, and location. Okay, so this one. So it relates to H1095, which is a general list, and also H1153, which is for industries, H1180, plants and crops. What we have is air basis, American. So it is not industry, it is not plant or crops. So we'd better look at the general index, H1095. We just click on that. This is the introductory page, and this is again 1095, which is general free floating list, which is very long. So we'd better do something quick. One way which I very often do is to clear the search and then synchronize the table of contents, and then go directly to that section, which is from H to L. Now we have location. The location is geographical subdividable, and it has a note, the scope note, used under types of industries, business entries, government and agencies and facilities. That is what we have now. Air bases, American is a facility, and under individual plants and groups of plants. So suffix X location can be used. And again, it's noted that it is geographically subdivided. So copy that and then go back to this. And location should precede the geographical subdivision. And then it can be controlled, of course. All right, then another question. Okay. That was question 3. Also from completed pre-session survey form. OCLC fixed some heading control problems for Chinese headings after the new release of spring 2011. However, some cases are still problematic. For example, if I want to control a personal name, Feng, Shui, the pop-up screen only gives me the option of 650 rather than 600, Feng Shui. This pop-up screen only leads to a subject heading rather than a personal name heading. Quite misleading and confusing. The answer is headings in WorldCat bibliographic records may be controlled on Connexion client only when there are corresponding authority records, main headings or subheadings. As of the day before yesterday, and I checked back this morning, there is no personal name authority record for 1001 blank Feng, Shui alone in the LCNAC authority file, although there is one with date, starts with the 1962 onward. NACO participants are encouraged to contribute authority records when not yet represented in any form and when feasible without introducing conflicts to the LC-NACO authority file. Those are the questions that I received, and are there some other questions, Ms. Chi?
No, I haven't seen any question coming in.
Okay. So, would you like to say a concluding remark, Ms. Chi?
I want to see, has anybody has question? And I will try to see if anybody writing. And I don't see it. So we don't have any more question. I think we are conclude this session. And I want to thank Mr. Morimoto for giving us this presentation. And this is the second webinar he gave to us. I see one of the questions say, will presentation be made available online? And I think I can answer that question. Yes, we will post it on CTP website, and the presentation file I already sent to you on Mr. Morimoto website, and will be posted on CTP website. And the first two webinars we held are already posted on CTP website if you want to access those recording sessions. And I will send you the link after the session, and please do fill out the survey. And thank you, somebody already posted URL for the presentation website. Thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Morimoto, and see you next time.
Bye.